Hello there. Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to the Note Show. And today we're gonna do something, the very first real estate roundtable with this group of people. So it's going to be something new. So we'll see where we go. So right now I'm going to ask. I'm here with. I can't forget anybody's name. Anyway, um, so one sec here. Maurice, why don't you introduce yourself? Just sort of say where you're at and what kind of investing you're doing, because you're doing some interesting things.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm Maurice Thomas Jr. I'm originally from Youngstown, Ohio. However, I am in a small city south of Atlanta called Hampton, Georgia. And of yes, we pretty much all invest in mortgage notes. However, I'm real big on exit strategy at this point when I buy notes, and I have pivoted and dove into group homes.
Okay, group homes. So how
Yeah.
does that work with group homes?
So that's a great question. So we all know that you never dive into any deal without some kind of exit strategy. So most recently, anytime you get into a deal and you have to do a foreclosure coupled with cash for keys or anything of that nature, you will be sitting on that property for some time. No matter if you partner with a real estate agent in that state or that space in general to kind of get the house sold as is, or if you do a fixer, fix it up and sell it, or you may keep it. But at this point, Nadia and I, which is my partner, it just happened to be my wife, we have decided to, use those properties for group homes and more specific, could be different types of populations. But the turnaround time and getting that thing cash flowing is I like it now. It's second to none. Like we don't have to worry about any state regulations. We don't have to worry about, anything as it relates to, getting licensed and zoning and different things of that nature, so we able to sell the beds themselves, to get those homes up and running.
No, that's great. So you have one other thing that I'm going to ask you about later, but Larry, maybe you're pretty much a pure notes investor, but you have a background in flipping and all of that. So you want to introduce yourself here?
Yep. Yeah. Thanks, Greg. Yeah. My name is Larry Hoffman. Man, I've been investing since 2006. I started out rehabbing houses. I was buying anywhere between three to five, 5 to 8 houses a month. One month in July, I purchased 15 homes, doing lease options, rehab them, sold them. Just straight out sold them, Section 8 them. I've done a lot. I've done everything from single family homes to multifamily homes. And then I pivoted to strictly buying first position mortgage notes across the United States. And just recently, my cousin actually, he started his real estate journey. And so he's been asking me, we belong to the same RIA. So he's been asking me a lot of questions about real estate, about, what to look for and things like that. And by him doing that, it kind of actually sparked an interest in the single family homes again, actually going out and looking. I did my first driving for dollars literally within like I don't know, 8 years maybe. And I went down in this one particular area that I used to own a lot of rentals. And so I found eight, and I found there were a lot more, but I just got tired of taking pictures and writing them down. And so I'm trying to see if I could do a wholesale deal. And it looks, out of the eight, looks like I may have one potentially that he is interested in selling this property, and he has other properties that he's looking to sell. Am I going to totally get back into that? More than likely. I wouldn't mind doing it like here and there, but strictly notes. I really love buying performing and non-performing notes, and I don't ever see that changing for me.
LinkedIn channel. Yeah, no, that's great. So already we have quite a lot of variety about the way we approach real estate investing. So Rodney, we two of us met through Note Investing University, and so what kind of you let us know where you're at and what kind of investing that you like to do or are interested in.
Well, I'm in Mitchellville, Maryland. I grew up born and raised in DC. And I actually got involved with foreclosures when I started off. I used to go around and I would get a list of pre-foreclosures, and with my partner, we would knock on doors and we would think we're offering a solution to those who are facing foreclosure, but you're not always welcomed. And that was a very hazardous type of position to be in. So then I jumped into fix and flips. I always thought that I could add value by turning a ugly duckling into a beautiful home. That was kind of fun. But then I ran into a problem with contractors. I became a landlord, and I just felt that I had to find a better way. And I kept searching, and I finally came across Desi and Patrick on YouTube, and that interests me. So I listened in for about a year, and then I finally pulled the trigger and joined their group. And, I can't tell you, I love being it's almost being like an armchair investor investing in mortgage notes, because none of the real estate have I actually physically seen. I've done all the homework on the properties, and that's how I came to be involved with mortgage notes, because I like to be an armchair investor, and as long as the numbers work, I enjoy that type of analysis and making it profitable.
So that's pretty good. You can run from your armchair. It's like your laptop freedom thing. Anyway, Dr. Ivan has joined us here.
Yes, there he is.
Yeah,
I'm here. Yeah, thank you.
Ivan is in Florida, so we have the east side of the continent pretty well represented. I'm over on the west side. But Ivan, do you want to introduce yourself and what kind of real estate investing you like to do?
Well, I am Ivan Terrero. I'm in Naples, Florida, and my handle is the Note Doctor. Excuse me. Just like a lot of people, I started in real estate a little different. I started buying land and selling the houses rent to own. And if I'd known now what I know then, I would have probably kept the houses and not sell them rent to own. But again, then I switched to flipping land, buying tax deeds and tax liens. I was a owner of a small multifamily, and that just gave me a lot of headaches. And what broke the straw on the camel's back was I had a house here in Florida, and the tenant did not pay me for 6 months. And guess who was paying the mortgage for those 6 months? That was me. So around that same time, I had got introduced to private lending. My brother had recommended one of his clients. He's an accountant. And I wrote him some note backed by his business, and that paid off. And around that time, more opportunities came up for me to originate notes. And I made some mistakes along the way. And now what I do is I buy mobile homes and renovate them and sell them rental. We write the mortgage on those mobile homes, and then we sell those notes on those properties.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ivan. Let's see if this other view works a bit better. Oh, there we go. A little bit larger.
Okay, good.
I got a QR code over top of Maurice's head here, but I'll get rid of that. So one of the things from talking with Larry is he somewhat the experience with dealing with actual properties was a little bit overwhelming, and you got into the note investing. And maybe does somebody want to summarize what note investing in and what the appeal is, instead of getting the actual property itself? So what do you want? Somebody want to jump forward on that one?
Well, like Rodney said, we don't have to be involved with what I call the triple T,
Yeah.
tenants, toilets, and termites. So all that goes on the homeowner, not on us. So as someone who's owned homes, when I lived up in North, owned homes in Florida, it's a godsend. So I don't have to worry about all that stuff. So, and whatever I can do, whatever a wholesaler can do with would do with a house, we can do with notes. We could take a non-performing note and rehab it, make it a performing note.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
notes have an advantage is that we can sell a partial on the note, so we can sell either the front end or sell the back end of the notes and still collect on the note.
And Greg, let me interject. One of the other things I like about mortgage notes is being able to help the borrower out, because I'm necessarily interested in the cash flow. I'm not looking to take ownership of the property. I'll do whatever I can to help the homeowner out in staying in their home, opposed to taking the home from them. So I think that's where we can offer a better opportunity in that case where they run into any type of difficulty.
Yeah, and I like to add on what Rodney's said. I love buying non-performing notes because that's my first strategy, is to do a loan modification to get them back on track. I do not want to foreclose on that property. I don't buy the notes to own that real estate. I do not want to own real estate. I owned 147 properties at one time. I am not going to own anymore. I am done with that. I am done with I think Ivan said the termites. The toilets, tenants, and the trash outs. And,
okay.
I'm over it. And it's just, for me, the notes is just being able to help somebody that wants, that want to be helped, right? If they bury their heads in the sand, then obviously, it's an investment. It's a business. I mean, and unfortunately, you do have to take those, start the foreclosure or do deed in lieu of and take that property back. But my end goal is not to own that real estate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I second that, because we our specialty is mobile homes, and mobile homes are considered private property or vehicle, and most of our clients can't get a loan on their mobile home, and a lot of these individuals have their own businesses. They're either landscapers, they're line chefs, they're paid in cash, and we vet them and we write the note on their mobile home. And at the end of 3 or 5 years, once they paid us off, they get title to the mobile home, and they're very happy. And like Larry says, I am not interested in owning a mobile home. I'm in Florida. Most of my business is in Georgia and in Arkansas, and we're expanding hopefully to Alabama. I don't want to own a mobile home, me being in Florida. So,
if I could add anything, I would just say I echo everyone's comments. It's an old term phrase that says mailbox money. That's pretty much what mortgage notes are, just mailbox money. Mm-hmm. If you do your due diligence and it makes sense, furthermore, is your numbers, this is no stress. People pay because these are their homes. People value their homes, and not only that, they value their homes. Everyone wants a safe, clean community and different things of that nature. So as it relates to the mortgage notes themselves, to sum it up, it's not passive, I would say, as much as we like to throw it out there. But if you do your due diligence up front, it would definitely be something where it's very rewarding. It's mailbox money.
Mailbox money, yeah. And I think all four of you have an interest in, as Rodney said, help people get into homes where they couldn't go through a normal bank. And I know Ivan has a story he tells about Texas Tea and somebody who had some struggles to keep up with payments, but they worked it out. And at the end of the day, the person was able to stay in the home, and Ivan made more money in the long run.
Yes.
So it's kind of, you're sort of humanitarian in a way a bank isn't always. So, and also this thing about you said, Maurice, it wasn't quite passive, because all four of you have spent quite a bit of time and money learning how to manage all the parts, because there's a lot of legal issues, regulations, all kinds of things, insurance. But I think maybe all of you offer some truly passive investing, is that if you have people who have some money and they want to invest, they just want a return, they don't care about the details. I think you all have offers along those lines. So does somebody want to describe that?
Yeah, I mean, I can. Oh, go ahead, Maurice.
No, I'll punt it to you after here, Larry. I was just going to add that, it's two different types of investors. You have your ones that want to be hands-on, and then you have your ones where he'll say, "Hey, I see you doing this kind of work. I have X amount of money. I want to put it to work. Tell me about what you do and what my return will look like." So those are the two types of investors that we pretty much come across. I'm pretty much sure all of us do it. It's just that on my end, I had to go learn the back end. So I did go through NIU. I think Ivan went through NIU and Rodney went through NIU as well. And I know Larry, his content is second to none here across social media platforms. But to add that, I'll say that, we all went and learned the mortgage note business itself. We had to learn every aspect of it, every aspect. If we're doing judicial, non-judicial states, what that look like when you have to foreclose. Larry actually said something earlier. He had someone that stopped paying and they was able to access the home for 6 months. And you think about it, if someone stopped paying for 6 months, just imagine what that property will look like once you actually get it. Yeah, go ahead, Ivan. Go ahead, jump in, or Larry.
I could testify to that. I tell you that renter trashed the house, and back then in 2005, it was $15,000 worth of rehab. Thank God there was no structural damage done. But when we saw the pictures, I could not believe someone could do so much damage to a house. And but again, like Larry says, I don't want to own another house unless it's my house, or unless I buy a house for my kids and they'll rent it from me. But yeah, no way.
Yeah, it's two things like what Ivan was saying regarding. I actually had a house where I had to do an eviction on, and the tenants actually poured concrete down the drain. And so it's one of those things. That's why you have insurance, and so we were able to get it fixed. But that's why owning another rental right now, I'll say no. But it's one of those things, right? I don't know what the future is going to bring. Because you get depreciation with rentals versus with what you don't get with mortgage notes. So you have pros and cons to everything. Mm-hmm. And then with regards to the passive investors, like Maurice was talking about, I have investors that just strictly are hands off. I've got one. I try to do just like a quarterly call with him, so to speak. And initially up front, he just said, "Larry, I don't care, just make the payments." And he goes, he's like, "I don't want to hear from you until until I'm paid off, or if you need more money from me for another investment." Right. But then I have other investors who want more of a passive or an active role in it. So those investors, they're more or less like the JV partners with me, and they get a much higher return than the passive investors.
Yeah, and just like Maurice indicated, it's not really a passive investment. It can be, because you do all your homework, your due diligence up front, and you factor in your profit in the acquisition of the note, and then you realize your profit on the exit. So if you do all your homework, the less work you have to do at the end. You're just like you said, you're just collecting the cash. So
yeah. So Larry probably has a pretty good idea about how many of those things go smoothly and how many are challenging.
Well, it's just we just recently purchased 95 non-performing notes, and they're across the United States. And so we're in the process of doing the due diligence on them, getting out the hello, goodbye letters, getting all those back. And then that's when you can contact them. And so I've got an attorney that we're using to reach out to the people. A lot of them have been sold at tax sale, right? So I don't have any recourse on the property, but there's still this outstanding promissory note. Right. And so, we're going to try to collect on those, but we do have a handful that that they are still living in the property. And so the main goal with the people living in them is to reach out to them. And the exit strategy for us is just to hold it long term, and just get them, back to square one, making the payments, modifying their loan, get them back on track, and then setting it up for like a 30-year note for them, and see if we can get them back on track. But yeah, things go sideways, right? You can't guarantee anything, and you always have to. And when it does, at least hopefully, if you purchase that note correctly, if things did go sideways, you're still covered.
Right. Yeah. That gets back to the due diligence. Make sure you've researched it well enough.
Right.
Yeah. So Maurice, you have another project related to airlines. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. One of the things that, like Larry just stated as well, just to pick up where he left off, is when you're doing your due diligence on a property, and once you actually, have it, depending on its location. So, for example, the last deal that we just did, we picked up a property in Cleveland, Ohio, where it was, 2 minutes from the Cleveland Zoo. It was 5 minutes from the closest urgent care, and it was 12 minutes from the biggest hospital. So immediately going through, just knowing real estate and being around individuals like everyone that's on this call here, you recognize that as a prime property. So we recognize that as a place where we know we would have high-end professionals like your traveling nurses, your people that's in their doctoral programs, going through clinicals and different things of that nature. And not only that, those individuals are looking to stay at those homes for anywhere from 12, to 16 weeks at a minimum time. So now you're looking at, a property where you're renting out 3 to 4 times. And not only that, reaching out to the insurance companies as well and say, hey, introducing yourself, letting them know your mission, your goals of your company. And, when individuals have disasters or, something that happened to the property where let's say they have a fire and they have to rebuild the structure of that, they'll reach out to you and say, hey, I know you have a home in that area. Do you mind if we rent it? So again, you have another long-term strategy, but you dealing with more of the higher end type of professionals. You're not doing, like the headaches that you have when you have your, your individuals who come in straight from the community. And then you have like your flight attendants as well. So in some states, one of my partners introduced, a deal to me. She said, hey, I need a house and here's a pain point. When I travel, I need something called a crash house. So they find these different facilities or they find these homes where they all can rent collectively and maybe get together. And long story short, I'm learning this space in general. So it's not like you're renting to your general population. I do have a house in Griffin, Georgia, y'all, where it's kind of like what Larry and everyone, Rodney and Dr. Ivan stated. It can be a headache because if you're dealing with someone at risk population, it does help the community. It does help that individual, and you are cash flowing. So those are the three, like, check the box there. However, if they're a private pay, they're one event from being back on the street. So if they have like a issue with their car, they have to go to the dentist, or something happens that comes up, now you have to worry about being paid. So those are the troubles that I have with those types of individuals. But anyone that's over, we pretty much target anyone that's over 65 years old who has that Social Security, and we know that guaranteed income will be coming in, and we don't have to worry about that. Set that up on an ACH transaction, and again, we only provide beds. We're not doing any medical. We're not doing any medication. We don't have to worry about hiring individuals to come in. That's at a high level. And again, it takes care of the community. It takes care of that individual who need a clean, safe community, and it's paying off the house for you as well. It's going down, the house is appreciating, and different things of that nature.
Hey, Maurice, that's pretty interesting. I just had I had lunch this past weekend with a potential lender, and he's also an investor, and he was talking not more so like medical or older people, but he used a website called, I think it's Furnished Finder, and I just looked it up. It's furnishedfinder.com, and so he says he has a like a 4 or 5 bedroom house where it's like a co-ed type of thing. Yeah. And the doctors, it just tripped my memory when you said traveling doctors, where a lot of these residents are here just temporarily, 2, 6 months, 9 months, and they just rent out this room. It's all co-ed. They share the bathroom, share the kitchens, and he's making a killing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that is
Absolutely.
that is one of the markets I'd like to get in since I'm in the medical field. I know a lot of my patients are traveling nurses, and they'll spend 3 months in an area and come back home, spend a week, and then go on another contract. And Cleveland is a very good area for that because Cleveland Clinic, and another area would be Toledo, Ohio, I think, where they have a big hospital. So any of the states that are unfortunately not red leaning, I'm not trying to be political here. It's just the laws, okay?
Yep.
So it's something that I like to possibly partner with you in the future, Maurice.
I want to go back and add on to something Larry just said. Furnace Finder, anytime you're into real estate, more particular with the mortgage notes, you kind of know the areas and you know how to go look at county records and different things that you pretty much have never thought about. But the reason why I say that, when I came across Furnace Finder, it was like a one-time fee. I think it was like $100. But when I was doing my due diligence, I found out that 67% of the traveling nurses, they travel with a pet. And that was one of the things I wanted to stay away from. And not only that, do they travel with a pet, guys, they actually are looking to rent the whole house. So if you can get a house under contract, the house in Cleveland, I got it under contract with a long-term lease for 3 years. Just to give you some numbers, let's say it's like 1,800 to rent that house for the next 3 years under contract. But if I can rent the whole house out at like 3,800, maybe my utilities and having someone go do the snow, because that's something I have to worry about in Cleveland. Snow, leaves, your all that kind of stuff that you're taking care of. But long story short, 67% of those individuals travel with their pet, and then not only that, they have individuals flying in as well. So they're looking for, queen to king size beds in each room. Like those are like the small things as it relates to, versus your shared living space. Like the property in Griffin, it's a shared living space. It's a 4-bedroom. We got 2 extra sides, twin beds in each room, and those individuals share that space, meaning that kitchen and that living room. Whereas in the traveling nurse field, they prefer to come home and have their own privacy, decompress, so they'll rather rent the whole house there. And like I said, 67% was an alarming number, especially with the pets, because I was going to shy away from it. But that's a great call out. Great call out, guys.
Yeah. In Vancouver, with the film industry, there are quite a few like furnished apartments or condos available, and for some people, they'll rent a whole house, as you said. And I was in a consulting company. I spent some time in Ottawa, and I stayed in one of those furnished apartments for 3 or 4 months. It's a pretty good thing. I'm still curious, Maurice, about how this works with your crash pad for the flight crews.
So it's almost like it's the same business model, except for you just use it for flight attendants. And I actually don't lead that. I actually delegate that to Erica. And Erica will reach out and say, hey, we're going to be in this area for this time. Especially the area the most that is needed the most is in Oakland, like the Bay Area. So because that is a hub where a lot of flight attendants have people who's in that space, they have to go and meet and do their flights and different things of nature. And the reason why I'm talking like at a high level is because I didn't know that when you are a flight attendant, I thought you just, like, for example, if I was a flight attendant, I thought you just go down to Atlanta airport. No, they'll say, hey, you need to be at this location. It could be clear across the country at this time. And they would need those different homes to, to prepare for. And not only that, when they fly back into, they may have like a day or two wait, and they want comfortable space as well. And that's another industry as well. They don't mind sharing space. However, they want their own privacy when it's time to decompress and have their time. Someone might be flying out at 5 a.m. They don't want to hear the TV past 12 o'clock midnight. So when you go to do your rules and you do house rules, that's something to always consider. But long story short, that space is the same business model as if you were doing like an Airbnb or what is it called, Verbal and all that. Like, I'm not in the Airbnb space, but what I do encourage y'all to do, if someone is having problems with their Airbnb, which is a lot, especially in Arizona, those individuals are having problems renting out their house. So you want to reach out to them and say, hey, if you want, let me have this house for above market rent for the next 2 or 3 years. You want to get it under contract for the next 2 or 3 years, run your numbers, see how much the bid is going to cost, and then you can pick the kind of population that you want. Use RIF, LUF, people who are aged out of foster care or whatever it may be. But they all the same model. It's all around real estate. But most important, I learned most of this going through NIU through the mortgage, the No Investors University through Desi and Patrick, and then being around individuals like Larry, Dr. Ivan, and Rodney, you start to pick up certain things. So you recognize opportunities, you recognize business opportunities. Like Larry said, I sat down with a buddy and we were having lunch, and he was talking about how he rent out the different homes. So again, Larry may have a property once he do his due diligence and find out that it's 2 minutes from an airport, and now you can reach out to a flight attendant or whoever it may be, and make that into a cash flowing place where they can rent. Like it's pretty much an Airbnb model.
Mhm.
However, you're not using a platform. I'll show you how to set that up and different things of that nature, like what I use. So I use Tenant Cloud for anything outside of Furnish Finder. That's how I'll get my invoices. That's how I send everything. And then on the back end, I use Furnish Finder, Hotpads, Rooms.com, Facebook Market, all those different places to actually get it out there. So great question, Greg. I hope I answered your question. Did I answer it?
That's perfect.
Maurice, it sounds like you got a big market to corner.
every flight attendant in America.
Wow.
Cool. Very good. Very good.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But nothing beats that mortgage note, though. Nothing like you don't have to worry about the stress. The money goes there all the time, especially if you're using like your self-directed IRA. Like you love to see that account growing and different things of that nature. So, always preparing for your retirement. Like Larry said, 20, 30, 40 years. Well, we don't do 40, but up to 30 years
Mhm.
of refinancing and getting someone going. Let me ask you this, Larry. How often do you run into individuals where you're buying that second, that non-performing, or I don't know if you do second liens or anything of that nature? How often do you run into those individuals where you're, refinancing it and getting them going? Is it 1 out of 4, 1 out of 10? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I steer away from second mortgages. I only do first mortgages. But that's where I tend not to really reach out to the tenants to the borrowers, trying to get them to like refinance and all this other stuff. Just because I'm always afraid with like the double dealings or I'm always afraid of violating some rules, right? So I always just stay away from that. But whenever I buy a non-performing note, 100%, I always reach out to them. Well, I always reach out to everybody that I buy a note with my servicing company, and then I follow up. But more specifically with a non-performing note, I'll always reach out to them and just say, hey, what can we do to get you back on track? And like I said, I have yet to really reach out to a performing note and ask them to go down and say, hey, I'll give you a 5% discount if you refinance it. Because right now our plan is, because using private funds, I'm into these notes 3 to 5 years, and then I've got to sell them or recycle the money and pay off the other investor. So now on the notes that I typically buy in my self-directed IRA, I'll let them sit until the day they just pay me off, because I am literally in no rush to get that money back.
As long as the cash is flowing.
As long as that money is coming in, I'm happy. But if it's not, then I will do everything and anything that I can, because like things happen, good things happen or bad things happen to good people, and if you can help them through that traumatic event, then it's. I mean, the one performing note that I bought in North Carolina or South Carolina, it was sold like eight times. I was the 9th person that bought it, and it was performing or non-performing. And he tells me, and I called him, and he goes, "You are literally the only person that's ever reached out to me." Because a lot of people, I don't know. When I say a lot of people, a lot of note investors, they don't have. It's all strictly about cash flow and not helping that person. I'm not saying that everybody's like that, right? But after hearing that from him, I'm thinking, oh my God, you got to be kidding me. And he says, you are literally the only person out of 8 people that bought this note that's reached out to me to try to help me to get me back on track. And, he had a life-changing event. And so we just did a loan modification.
Yeah.
It was a contract for deed. I turned it into a mortgage. And now everything's impounded. And, he's literally become like a really good friend of mine. And because of that, and, it's neat. It's neat to be able to help people, like that.
That's great.
Yeah, I have to second that because with my example in Texas, before that, there was another person who I actually brought a mobile home, and she actually had a good life before falling into hard times, and she was 68. She had to do waitressing, and all she can afford was a mobile home rental. Sorry, and so what we did is we rented the mobile home, we fixed it up for her, we rented it out for a year. And at the end of the year, she asked me, can I buy this house?
Wow.
But I don't have any money for the mortgage. I'm still waitressing. So we wrote out the note, and within 3 years, she paid me off.
Wow.
And I have to make that into a case study. It's going to be
Yes.
100%.
Yeah, coming up.
Yeah.
And that's the neat thing about that is it just makes you feel good knowing that you're able to help somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
And because a lot of banks, they'll just say, hell with you, we'll just foreclose on it. And it's about the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where being a note investor, you can actually help that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
That now obviously they want to be able to be helped.
Yes.
And it's neat. That's one of the things that I absolutely love about this business.
And if she didn't pay me on time for the whole year, she would have not been considered as a candidate for me to write the mortgage on her.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'll add this. When it comes to like the group homes, most of the individuals, they either have bad credit or they have a background. So those two things are just gonna disqualify you for, if we're being honest, for different homes, And then not only that, these days people are asking for first month rent, last month rent, security deposit,
Yep.
the left leg, everything. They're
Yep.
asking for a lot of things, So us being in this space, having that kind of model where you're doing a background check to know who that individual is. However, we're not so much big on the credit, so giving them, like I said, I'm in the space of giving beds. I'm not in the space of renting. Even the contractors, we don't consider them tenants. They belong to a community. So if something comes up or they drinking, they break their sobriety rules or whatever it may be, we can turn around and get that individual out the house in 24 to 48 hours. We don't have to go through a long eviction. And again, you only would know these things if you're in the I don't say you only would know this, but being in the mortgage no space, you're able to make informed decisions. And even when you contact an attorney to get your contracts written up and different things of that nature, you know what you're looking for and how you want to structure your deals. I think Dr. Ivan pointed out, the red versus blue states. That's a big thing in this space, y'all. Y'all want to pay attention to that, especially if you're buying deals in New York.
Well, and that's what when he said that. I don't buy anything in New York, New Jersey, or Cook County, Illinois, right? And so I'm and I'm actually leaning not to buying contract for deeds. I do mortgages and deeds of trust just because. Or what I do love is when it's a non-performing note and it is a contract for deed and I can get that modified, I will 100% turn it into a mortgage.
Absolutely. Let me ask this, Greg, real quick, and I'm gonna punt this to Rodney, because I know Rodney at one point, I kind of asked about the second lien or buying second mortgages. I know you were looking into that, maybe about 12 to 18 months ago. Have you dove into that space yet?
No, not yet. I'm still doing my homework on it, but I'm still very interested in that because the returns in that particular market can be pretty substantial.
I'll tell you, there's a really good. I thought. Have you guys ever heard of Tom Henderson?
No.
He's a. They call him. I think they call him the note professor, and he's got a conference coming up. I think at the end of February. I couldn't make it. Just I have other arrangements. but he has a course or a book on second mortgages, and he has a really good book. It's a PDF that you could download on just notes in general. And Tom Henderson, like the Note Professor, I think it's the Note Professor. You can just Google it. And Rodney, I think he has a really good book on second mortgages.
Okay, I will definitely look him up.
Yeah. So secondly, what Maurice said, I came across a non-performing note on a apartment building in New York, in Brooklyn, New York, a very nice area. But once I did the due diligence on that, the tenants hadn't paid in 3 years. The owner had bought it in 2009, took out a second mortgage on the property, and it was just a mess. To get those people out of the space and getting them to pay, digging in and doing some more due diligence. There were people that were there for 9 years and hadn't paid rent in 6 years. So, I mean, the asset, if you were able to get if you were able to solve the problem, would be a great asset, especially at the price that they were offering the note. But it was just too much work, too much hassle to get that note performing. Yeah.
Wow.
See, and I've heard, I've had other note investors that I hang around and talk with, and they were saying that if you're from New York and you want mortgage notes or whatever, or even like evictions, that are more favorable to local people as opposed to out of town. And so, and I'm not trying to make it sound like New York and New Jersey and Cook County, Illinois is really bad. It's just with me being not in those areas and it being more of like tenant friendly,
Yes.
Borrower friendly. I just choose not to invest in those areas. Now, if I lived in that area, maybe it'd be a different, circumstance.
As a former New Yorker, if you lived there, it wouldn't make a difference.
I'll definitely take your word on it.
Okay. And I have family members that are cops, and I have an ex-patient of mine who was a lawyer, but it's not easy at all.
Okay. Yeah, I heard like the eviction could take up to like the 24 months, right? 18, 24 months. And then, I mean, God forbid if you have to foreclose. I mean,
Well,
I'm sure
there was a famous case at Long Island where the tenant had not paid the mortgage for 20 years.
Oh my God.
You can look it up online, and that's just the most famous one. So,
Wow. Yeah.
That's insane.
I know, right?
Blows me away.
Yeah, I'm sad. I'm sad just thinking about being on the other end because once those people start paying, it starts to create stress and anxiety because now you have a asset that was supposed to be an asset, but now it's becoming very stressful. And once that starts happening, you have to go take out that second, to pay. What is it? Rob Peter to pay Paul? What they say?
Yeah.
So you doing this and you trying to move things around. You have to then you got to sell it at a discount as well because no one wants to. That's sad.
I'll tell you, I had one back when I was doing when I was buying properties and I was just holding on to them. I had one tenant that he was like 1 month, 2 months, and then 3 months, and then he eventually got up to 6 months behind on rent.
Oh my!
Because and that's when I was more like the bleeding heart. I know things happen and I get it. Yeah. And then I went up to because he told me, he goes, "Hey, I got your money," and I stopped up to get the money, and then he wasn't there, and I'm like, "What the hell?" And he wouldn't answer his phone, and I was going home because this rental was literally like 8 minutes from my house, 10 minutes from my house, and he was carrying back a 24-pack of Budweiser.
Oh my! And
I'm like, and that flipped my lid, and I went back to the house. I turned back around, and I went back to the house, and I followed him in. And I literally just started throwing stuff out I'm like, this is it. You guys are about to move. You have to leave. And I mean, I literally lost it. And they're yelling. His wife is yelling, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And I just literally I think it was like that Saturday, that Monday, I went down, filed for eviction, and that was it. I was done with the rentals, and I'm like, I'm done.
Wow.
So I have a cousin who used to have a bunch of rentals in Alberta and Edmonton, and his thing is he would actually go down, even if somebody was even just a couple of days late, he might take their stuff, put it out on the lawn, and lock and change the locks. Right. Anyway,
Wow.
we were visiting his sister, and the sister had 2 daughters. The sister was moving out, sold the house, was going to move into a condo, and the daughters were supposed to move out somewhere else. And he says, "Yeah, if you want him out, I'll have him out by the end of the week." One of the daughters hid in the bedroom, and he was afraid to come out and see Uncle Marty. So,
Yeah.
But I think most places you couldn't do that. But I mean, he was just didn't have any patience at all.
The only state that allows that is Alabama, but I think they may have changed the rules, because I bought a tax lien years ago, and as soon as I took possession, within 30 days, I was able to evict the tenants.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, here in Hamilton County, it's pretty quick. You know, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio,
Okay.
and so I've done 4, 5, 6 evictions. I mean, you know, it's out of those properties, and it was relatively within, I would say, within 60 days, they were out. I mean, so It was pretty quick.
Wow. You know what, Greg? Let me ask you this, Greg. How is the laws in Canada as it relates to eviction? Like, is it friendly? Like, what does that look like? When you guys
It's
in?
probably a lot harder to evict people in many areas. There's a process you have to go through, and but it can be done. It depends on the property and the rental and the area. Each province is a little bit different, and probably maybe each city has its own bylaws too.
Wow.
I think Desi, one time somebody had a guest on the Note Investor University, and they were saying that sometimes if a bank is offering a note at a really sort of extreme discount, there may be a reason for it. Like it's impossible to foreclose. So basically, whatever you paid for it, you probably never get the money out of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah.
it was essentially worth zero. Because of some kind of local bylaw or the way it was owned or something along those lines.
And that's where you know, going back to the due diligence, that's where you literally, you know, have to do your due diligence, you know, on the notes that you're looking at. I buy a lot of bankruptcy notes and, you know, foreclosed notes and things like that. And, you know, I'm always trying to have a conversation with the attorney, or, you know, just trying to get the lowdown more on what's actually going on with that note, because I've had a couple that they try to slip something by you, and, you know, to the new note investor that they would have 100%, you know, would have been over their heads with it, over their skis.
Absolutely. Definitely got to pay attention to the zoning. That's something that I pay attention to if someone reach out and say, "Hey, you can rent this property, I have it for you." The first thing I'll look at is the zoning. Is it zoned for a multifamily? Is it zoned for a single? Because that means the max I can only put in here is maybe 4 beds in this area. So I pay attention to the zoning, and I pay attention to the type of schools in the area, because I may have someone being released from prison who want to use the home as a transition home, or I may have someone who was a sex offender. You know, different things of that nature. So, like Larry, you spot on, man. Great call out.
Well, I'll tell you, I actually had a renter that was got out of prison for murder, and you know, a lot of people wouldn't rent to him. I'm telling you, he was, and, you know, and I just told him, look, I'm gonna pull a background check on you. Just be upfront, honest with me. When I pull the background check, I will 100% know what's going on. If you lied to me, you know, that means I can't trust you. I'm just going to automatically just disqualify you. And he's like, look, you know, he just told me what happened. I'm like, thanks for sharing. I really appreciate that. And he was one of the best renters I've ever had.
I promise you, those are the best guys. Like,
yes,
those are the best, because they're just looking for a second chance. And then, and if it's almost like you said, you have a heart, but you still have to be stern. You know, the only thing is, we know, well, private pay individuals in the space of a group home, they're one event from being behind, and that's the part where that kind of scares you. Like I said, one of the guys had to get his teeth done. He had to get a tooth pulled. So, he's paying bi-weekly. Now he's off pay schedule. So now I have to. You don't want to put them out, So it kind of goes back to what everybody was saying. They want to shy away from the tenants, the toilets, termites, or I forgot that one Larry said.
Trash out.
So that's the only part where it could get kind of cloudy as it relates to the humane part. Do I give this person 15 days? Do I give them 30? Because our kind of personalities, people will probably pick up on it and say, you know what, something else came up. And Larry just gave a great example how I went from 30, 60, 90 days, and then he just so happened to drive past him seeing that. So now you're playing on my kindness, So great call outs, guys.
So Larry, you basically specialize in non-performing notes?
Oh, I buy performing and non-performing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's the thing, right? With performing, I mean, you're pretty much having to pay close to par for it, and that doesn't really excite me. But I do buy them in with a lot of times with the performing notes. They're typically only like 3 to 5 years left, so I can get a really good discount on them. But I absolutely love the non-performing notes. That's where you can definitely get a better yield.
It does take a little bit more effort to get them performing. Just like
Right.
My analogy is when you buy a non-performing note, it's like doing a full house rehab from the studs.
Right. Well, and what I try to do is I rehab the borrower and not the property. Right.
Okay.
So I try to really work with the borrower. But you're right. I've been pretty fortunate with the non-performers that I've purchased thus far. They've been pretty responsive and able to get them back on track. And I always tell them, look, I know life happens. I get that. But, and if something happened, call me and let me know. But, make no mistake, this is a business for us. And maybe it's just to the point where you just can't afford that house anymore. And that's where we have to have that conversation. And I told a lot of them, like, and if that's the case, maybe what I can do is, because I used to buy houses, I can help you, find something else. And maybe I don't know if I'm overstepping my bounds with that, but that's just me trying to help somebody, as opposed to just saying, the hell with it, the hell with you, things happen, and just put you out on the street. Because I couldn't live with myself without knowing that I've done everything I possibly can to help that person.
Mm-hmm. And Larry, those type of people are called, you call that emotional equity.
It is 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, because when I was doing those properties, right, I actually had 10 properties going to foreclosure. So, I had, that's the economy, the housing market crashed. So I actually had 10 properties. So I know I didn't lose my personal house, but I lost those properties. And I know what it feels like to be on the other side of that coin. And it is very, very emotional having to go through that. It's like everything is wrecked. Your credit is wrecked. And it's just like, what am I going to do? And I'm telling you, once you get on the other side of that fence, I mean, you can 100% get through it. You will get through it, but you need somebody to help you get through it.
Absolutely. You said a word earlier, Larry. You said par. And individuals like who's new to this space. I asked a question earlier to my guy Rodney around buying those second mortgages. And the reason why I asked that is because you can get those second mortgages at a severe discount, and at par, like you're not buying it, at face value, pretty much with what Larry is saying. So, Larry, I do want to ask you this, and maybe, Dr. Ivan as well. How do you guys figure out the value of at a high level? Like, how do you guys come up with the numbers, especially Dr. Ivan, when it comes to, selling that note or creating that note and figuring out what that monthly rent will be, for that individual? What does that look like?
You want to go first, Larry?
Well, now, Maurice, let me ask you. So are you talking about creating a note for somebody, or are you talking about buying a performing note?
So it's creating the actual note. once you convert it, maybe like in your case when you created from a contract to deed to actual note, or you go to them and say, hey, I need you to refinance. But going back to the how you actually create the note or the security itself.
Okay, now on that particular case, like two instances. One, on that particular case where I turned the non-performer into a performer and then converted it from a contract for deed to a mortgage,
Yeah.
I just took all those back payments, added it onto the back end, and I think I charged him like I think it was like the going rate. I think it was like something like 8% or something, like somewhere close to like the 8. And so it actually kept his mortgage the same, right?
Nice.
So pretty close to what he was paying. But then you tack on taxes and insurance. So I think it went up like $150. So when you impounded the taxes and insurance, but creating a note, now I don't personally create the notes, but if I were to create one, then yeah, I would take whatever and that's where you have to be mindful of it, because I've seen, people where they charge 12, 13, 14, 15% because they're offering owner financing because of the CFPD, the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. I personally like if the going rate is like whatever the rate is, like say it's 7, I don't mind going up a point and a half, maybe 2 points. I don't want to gouge that person.
Exactly.
So, and then the other thing is I don't originate it. I always have a residential mortgage loan originator do it. And then they have to put down 10% or more, and they have to have a credit score of 620 or better. That's just my own personal.
Yeah.
And everybody's different. So Dr. Ivan, what do you?
So what I do, since we're in a specific market where we're dealing with mobile homes, we look at what the average lot rent is, and we first of all we take a mobile home, we rehab it up to the standards of the community. So we sell it whatever the community standard is. Let's say for an example, say it's $50,000. So we'll write a mortgage on that. Then the borrower has to pay at least 10% down.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we create the note on a 3-year or 5-year note, depending on what they can afford. So they have to pay, since we own the mobile home park, they have to pay the lot rent and on top of the mobile home. So we also do a credit check. We also do a background check. And for us, since we got started in this business, our business is mostly referral based. So we have people that are referring other borrowers to our park.
Nice. Yeah, that answered my question. Thanks, guys. That was very thorough.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good question, because I also buy a lot of newly originated notes, and I'm actually getting ready to buy one in Texas. And we were having this conversation we've been having this conversation. He's created like I think 4 or 5 notes, getting ready to create another one, and interested in selling it. And so, and I gave him these guidelines, and with that, so he's going to generate that, and then once he does, I'll buy that just right on the spot. I wouldn't have to let it season for 3 to 6 months.
Nice.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, I like that. I want to dive into. I'm like Rodney. I want to dive into the second position, because you can get those. A lot of those under 10K. A decent one would be under 20K as well. So that way you can just buy and sit on it. Because most of the time when you looking to buy a note, if you don't have a lot of funds to distribute or deploy at a time, you're not gonna get a good decent note for under $40,000. If what do you guys think? Have you all find a grade B or above? C, a grade C or below? You might get it about 40,000 or less, but it's gonna require a lot of work and different things of that nature. Have you guys come across anything like that in the market recently?
So our notes, we originate notes around $25,000, believe it or not, because it's in a in a rural area, and the rents are low. But we've been fortunate that we've been able to find clients that are working and been able to pay off their mortgage. So there are out there, but again, we were very fortunate to come across this park, and I'd have to give shout outs to Desi, because Desi actually owned the note on this mobile home park, and it was not performing, and we were able to work out the deal with Desi and the NIU, since we had experience in that space. So we've actually helped Desi turn a non-performing note into a performing note.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Mhm.
Dr. Ivan, how many acres do you need to have a mobile home park?
It all depends on the area. So we have 3 acres. We have permits for 18 mobile homes. So we have space. We have 12. We have space for 6 more.
Okay.
And
I'm gonna have to talk to you. We have 40 acres down in Monroe, Virginia. So
really,
yeah.
okay. So we need to talk about this. Okay. And it is what I like about this deal is that since it's in a rural area, the lot next to it is 3 acres and only has 1 mobile home, and the owner is a little bit older. And the lot next to that one is another mobile home. He has 3 mobile homes, and he's a little bit younger. But I foresee us buying both of those lots and expanding the mobile home park.
Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool. So this is great. What I had in mind for doing this roundtable is that we would find places to collaborate
Mhm.
and share ideas. So this has been great. I think we should do it again next week. What do you guys think?
Count me in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Sure.
sure, yeah. And I got to know Larry a bit more, and Rodney, we've had some
Yeah.
conversations. And Maurice, of course, we've been talking
Yeah.
in the past year. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
Cool.
Maurice and Larry, I don't see how any of you have time to do anything else. Good gracious. I still have my 9 to 5, so that keeps me occupied, but good gracious.
I have a virtual assistant that helps me.
Okay.
Yeah. In my
And
case, I
anybody-
have a remote job, so I still have my 9 to 5. It's remote though. But for the most part, I have that capacity to kind of do things between, speaking to students.
So, well, I'm going to tell you a joke, okay?
Okay.
I live a hand-to-mouth existence, so I got to keep on working. So what that means is that my hands go into people's mouths.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay.
Love it.
Boy,
That's great.
good one.
Yeah, no, this is fabulous. So Larry's got his website address right on his name.
Mhm.
And Maurice, your website is tgilegacygroup.com.
TIGlegacy.com. I kept it short.
Okay. And the note doctor is the notedoctor.com, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. And Rodney, the note experience, the same, the noteexperience.com. And you're all on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think you're probably in other platforms too. So I guess the invitation is for anybody interested in contacting you to reach out through the websites, through the LinkedIn, have a conversation, because I think you're all interested in working on some deals together, some
Absolutely.
looking for
Absolutely.
investors, looking to invest in projects perhaps. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
So I got to give a plug here. Para los que quieren invertir y ayudar la comunidad de habla hispana, queremos hablar con ustedes.
Break it
I don't know
down.
what you just
Right.
said, but that's
So
pretty cool.
whoever wants to invest helping the Spanish speaking community, I want to speak with you.
I love it.
Yeah, exactly. I was just telling Larry because he was asking a bit about you, and I said that you wanted to connect to the Spanish speaking community in North America and South America and Central America too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's perfect. Yeah, so I think this is good for today, and is this time 11 a.m. Pacific good for next week?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess if anybody else wants to come join, we had see if her list. We had somebody pop in here. Stacy. Stacy popped in.
Mhm.
So I think is she part of the Node Investor University
I think
crowd
so.
or
She was on the call today.
Yeah.
okay, yeah. So maybe she wants to join in on the discussion. So it's perfect. Yeah. So okay. So we'll see you all next Saturday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And what time? What's that? You're 2 hours different, aren't you, Larry?
Yeah, I'm Eastern Standard Time.
Oh, you're Eastern. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, happy Saturday, everyone, and enjoy the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
Okay.
Thanks, Greg.
Nice to be a
Thanks,
part of
Greg.
this group.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Right.
See ya.
All right.
See you guys.
Bye.